Good evening, my dear colleagues. Welcome to another Inget Zoom series talk. Today, our guest is Dr. Ufuk Keleş. Ufuk Hocam had worked as an English instructor at Yıldız Technical University for 15 years. Then he received his PhD degree in curriculum and instruction at the University of Alabama, USA, as a Fulbright grantee. Currently, he's working at the ELT department, Bahçeşehir University. His research interests include transnational socialization, social justice in ELT, multicultural education, humanizing ELT research, ELT teacher training, language learner and uses autoethnographies along with qualitative research and ethics in education. The title of his talk this evening is The What's, or How's, Whys, and Whom's of Autoethnography. Thank you, dear Foucault, for being with us, accepting to be a guest speaker, and welcome again. The screen is all yours.
Hocam, thank you for this lovely introduction. Actually, this is the first time I am being introduced like this. I feel like proud of myself, and it is an honor to be introduced by you too, Hocam. Thank you so much for that. So, Hocam, as you said, today's topic is the what's, how's, whys, and whom's of autoethnography. Autoethnography is not only new for Turkey, but new for the world. I mean, many parts of the world, autoethnography hasn't been heard yet. And having had my dissertation on my own autoethnography is one's own experiences and writing about them. So having written such a dissertation, I feel like I should bring it to Turkey too. My friends, my colleagues, people in Turkey's academia should learn about it for some reasons. Practically, for example, that is a hot topic, which means publication. I mean, people can publicize, but I'm going to warn people, like, it is easier said than done. We're going to see that tonight. But other than that, it is a lifestyle for me. I mean, after I wrote my dissertation in an autoethnographic form, I changed myself. Before, my professional life, my academic life, and my personal life, they were compartmentalized, like they were isolated from each other. With autoethnography, I put them together because they're all feeding into my story, and that my story is my grand narrative. So today I'm going to give some examples from my story and my research, but the basics of autoethnography, we're going to be talking about. Let me move on. We're going to be talking about how to understand our stories through this quotation, Kierkegaard. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards, right? From time to time, it's kind of meaningful to go to sit down, relax, and look back, have a retrospection, and then introspection about your current practices, to understand what is going to, or to predict at least, to anticipate at least, what is going to happen to you. Like that is what I call prospection. So yes, autoethnography is all about this, trying to understand our past, to understand and make sense of our unlived future yet. So that is the thing. And tonight we're going to be talking about who is an autoethnographer, who I am as an autoethnographer, the what's of autoethnography, what is the definition, or let's say if there is, what topics does autoethnography cover, what kind of historical, epistemological, and historical background it has, and how you can write an autoethnography, and why you should write or why not you should write autoethnography. As I said, it's a lifestyle. Not everybody has to accept it. I have, but I'm not a disciple of anybody. So I'm not going to be trying to sell this out. If it makes sense, people can contact me. I can help them. If it doesn't, it won't. I mean, some of my close friends here at Bahçeşehir University, they participated in one of my workshops, and they said, "This is not for me, Ufuk." I mean, a little bit heartbroken because it's like it's my lifestyle, but still, I understand it's not for everyone. So let's start. And also, Hocam, if you can, if it's possible, if somebody has a question that you think is important and needs to be answered at that moment, you can, and please do interrupt me. I don't know, Hocam. And then I can try to make it interactive. So here we go. So normally in qualitative and quantitative research, in all types of research, a researcher works on others. In social sciences, this means the researcher is someone who is a scientist, who knows about stuff, and who goes to a local community, be it a school, be it a village, be it a tribe, be it a university campus, and work on those people to understand what is going on, to understand a certain phenomenon, right? But people, I mean, in social sciences, educational sciences too, even our field, applied linguistics, started saying, okay, I mean, this is not very acceptable because we are learning from them, we are getting some things from them, but we are not giving them anything. We are not even working with them. That is not humane. Let's try to make it more humane. And then they started saying, let's work with others. This is what we can call in our field action research. This is what we can call self-study. This is what we can call, I would say, collaboration, member check in qualitative research, right? But still, here, there is still power dynamics. The researcher is the one who knows. The researched is the one who doesn't know that much. But the researched is the focal point, right? So instead of having this dichotomy, researcher versus the participants or others, some people said, let's work on ourselves. And those people are, like me, autoethnographers. By working on oneself, this power dynamics, this dehumanizing ways of research are just blurred because we don't know who is who, or we know who is who exactly. And if I am exploiting myself, it is not exploitation. It is like introspection. It's like understanding my own habits of doing something. And from there, understanding how a phenomenon works. The functions of a society starting from myself. So in this case, in an autoethnographic study, the researcher is the participant. Problem solved, right? But there is another problem here because people say, okay, you work on yourself. It means it is highly narcissistic. Me, myself, and I. I mean, how can you call it a research study then? I mean, everybody lies about themselves. Everybody glorifies their stories. Everybody keeps their secrets away. But yes, I do agree with that. I am not looking for anything objective here. Let me say, it's all about subjectivity. But narcissistic or not, I'm not gonna argue against or for it, but I'm gonna answer with this Latin saying "temet nosce." Maybe some of you guys just saw it and realized where I took this image from. Actually, this temet nosce goes back to the ancient Greece, where Apollon's the oracles used it at the let's say entrance of Apollo's temple. Temet nosce means know yourself. And by the way, this is from the Matrix. And interestingly, Neo goes to the oracle, if you know the movie, and the oracle asks Neo instead of answers his questions. Neo, are you Neo? Are you the one? He says, I don't know. Then you are not the one if you don't know yourself. In order to be the one, you should know yourself. You should understand who you are to the fullest. This is the utmost aim of an autoethnographer. Kendini bil or kendini tanı. I like kendini bil more because there is this the challenge as well. I mean, it's not that easy, but knowing yourself is a little bit easier, right? But anyways, I mean, that is the utmost aim of the autoethnographer. Know yourself. If you know yourself as a researcher, then when you go to others, you're going to have more sympathy and empathy towards them. You're not going to dehumanize them. You're not going to colonialize them. You're going to be friendly, be sincere, be yourself, like the personal yourself. I mean, I will be Ufuk, the father, Ufuk the clown, Ufuk the teacher, Ufuk the everything, right? So this is the basics. This is the foundation, I would say. This is why I say autoethnography is more than a research methodology, but a lifestyle. So yeah, temet nosce, know yourself. By the way, the cookies were very delicious in that movie. I mean, I really like chocolate chip cookies, and I would love to eat some. And some people say those chocolate chip cookies help you understand who you are. So here is a rhetorical question. I mean, you have to guys answer this question, but let's think about it. Who can understand and analyze the thoughts, beliefs, emotions? By the way, I use slash when I use thoughts, beliefs, and emotions because I believe they're inseparable. They're always all together. Of a refugee, better and more deeply. Who understands? The refugee, like the insider's perspective. I mean, the refugee lives through stuff, right? Experiences stuff. A researcher who works on the refugee with an outsider perspective, or a researcher who is a refugee. Obviously, the answer is, I mean, no, but does anyone say, okay, Şebnem Hocam, Aydın Hocam, is it possible if she can talk right now? Şebnem Hocam, here, go ahead.
Şebnem Hocam, you're raising your hand. If you unmute yourself, you can say whatever you want to say.
Okay.
By the way, Ufuk Hocam, in the chat box, people wrote C as an answer your question.
Oh, okay. Guys, thanks for the support. I mean, it was a tricky, not a tricky question, but I was tricking you into my rhetoric. Another question here then, if you like the question. See again, I love to see. Who can understand and analyze the thoughts, beliefs, emotions, stress, challenges, happiness, achievements, failures of an academic better and more deeply? Of course, the academician themselves. Here, the academician is the person who experiences like the emic perspective. Also, the academician per se is a researcher, right? So, yes. That is why I say I understand language, second language socialization better than everyone because I have been through second language socialization. That's the thing. Okay, guys, here is my story instead of history. History is like his story, right? I use the wordplay here, my story, mystery, because it's not always easy to know yourself. So I'll give you like 30 seconds to read through this. And Sanem and Burcu, my friends, are part of the Yıldız Technical University years here. And Aydın Hocam, you already mentioned some of these, right? Especially the last part. So here you see some autobiographical information. This is not autoethnography because there is raw information, no feelings, no beliefs, no thoughts, no challenges. Actually, in zone, I'm a working class family member, which means my father was a worker, my mother was a housewife, we didn't have much money at home, and it wasn't easy for me to continue my education. Even at university, I had a lot of financial problems. I had to work and study. I had a lot of failures. I mean, I graduated like, I think, the second to last from my department. Things changed afterwards. I mean, after I saw some people going abroad and having their graduate studies. Anyways, here, actually, you only see autobiographical information, and autoethnography is not autobiography. It is more than that, because my story is actually a story of transformation from a monolingual and monocultural teenager coming from a working class family, but through learning a language, let's say English here, I became a multilingual and multicultural adult. I'm not using bilingual because, I mean, German, French, Arabic, Persian, they're all feeding into what I know as my language repertoire. That is another discussion. But from there, I became a translingual, transcultural, and transnational scholar of applied linguistics and language teacher educator. This transformation story is my autoethnography with all of its challenges, achievements, feelings of joy, pride, hopelessness, homesickness. Let me tell you guys this. When I was in Alabama, I drank like a lot when I missed my son to get it over. I mean, I cried. Normally, I don't cry. I didn't cry. I didn't used to cry. But I cried nights because he was like 2 years old, 3 years old, and it wasn't easy for me. And here in my autobiography, you don't have it. You don't have the fact that I couldn't buy a high school uniform, and I had to wear brown pants while everybody else was wearing gray pants. Imagine that. So autoethnography is being honest, being convincing with people, right? So that's the thing. This is how an autoethnographic writing looks like. This is part of my story as an international graduate student, and this was published in Studies in Graduate and Postdoctoral Education. Let me ask you guys this. Does it look academic to you? But I don't know, you're saying no. But there are citations, no, Hocam?
But it's very personal. Normally in academic studies, we do not get this personal. That's why I said automatically no. But I know that this is an academic study.
Actually, some people said, yes, this is academic and we are going to be public and good quality for their standards. And then they said, those people, the editors of the journal, they said, we are going to publish it. Actually, I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but things are getting from formal to informal, third person to first person. Like the laboratory coat wearing scientists to like me. I mean, I wear this in my real, everyday life too. I don't have an extra laboratory coat when I do science. So this is actually, and also Ursula Le Guin. She's not an academic. She is a science fiction writer, but her writing informs my scholarship. That's why I use it. And I really love her quotations here. I say, to see that your life is a story while you are in the middle of living it, maybe a help to living it well. This is what autoethnography means to me. Call it middle-age crisis for me, but that's what I did, and I don't regret. Okay, so what is autoethnography? Everybody wants to learn, right? So autoethnography in our field, applied linguistics, is an emerging genre. Less threaded path, Mir Husseini says this, referring to Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken poem. And Dr. Yazan, my advisor, my critical friend, he was my mentor, now he's mentor plus a friend. He says it's a newly introduced method of research in our fields. And I do agree. So what is autoethnography? I'm going to give you a very broad definition. It is a qualitative research method or methodology. There is this argument for against, whether it's a methodology or method, that situates self in the broader society and enables researchers to write their own stories. So you are in the middle of the society. You are part of the society. You can't just tell your story from your own eyes. That is important, but there are social norms, social dynamics, ideologies, policies, practices, beliefs, traditions, and all affecting you. Not only you, but your readers. So autoethnography is not ethnography, actually it's a reaction to it, not autobiography, because autobiography is like, I'm writing about myself. I am the narcissist guy. This is my success story. Read it. Perhaps you can be inspired. Meanwhile, I'm going to earn more money out of your pocket by selling you this book. Autoethnography is more than these. Some touch, but not the same. So Aydan Hocam, you may agree with this. Like epistemologically, science is not positivist or post-positivist anymore. It is becoming more critical, not even interpretive or constructivist, but critical in the sense that science serves to make the society a better place, to transform for the better. Also, postmoderns or post-structuralists, they say meaning is all about discourse. Whatever you say, the meaning is not there in your words because people will not understand what you say 100%. So, where is autoethnography? Autoethnography mostly is critical, there is critical autoethnography, and postmodern here. That's why we are not talking about objectivity anymore. We are not talking about surveys. We are not talking about hypothesis testing. We are not talking about the questionnaires, SPSS, or we are talking about outliers. We are talking about genuine stories. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. But yes, this is the epistemological foundation of autoethnography. Perhaps critical, yes, critical. That is what I do, critical, and postmodern, post-structuralist to make sense. Or a combination of them. Sometimes some autoethnographers, they say, okay, I am more traditionalists, analytic autoethnographers, they say, I'm interpretive, I'm from the interpretive paradigm. I'm from post-positivist paradigm. Still, people can do it, but not my type. So here you see a picture, right? The history behind autoethnography. If this was a face-to-face, I would ask perhaps one person can raise hand and tell us what they think about this photo. I mean, and why they think I put the photo here. There is propaganda in me doing it here, right? So, anyone who wants to chime in and say something? I don't know, perhaps you see more than I do.
Well, no one is raising their hands.
Okay, then
Maybe
I'm
I
gonna.
can victimize myself and
Okay,
say,
Hocam, please do.
um, I guess this white guy is a researcher, a
Mhm,
sociologist, maybe, or an anthropologist. Most probably, he's carrying out a kind of research,
mhm,
asking questions, maybe, to be able to write something about, maybe an article about these people. This
mhm.
African tribe? Is that an African tribe?
I'm
I
not
don't
very sure.
know.
Perhaps an
I don't know.
Amazonian. I'm
Yeah,
not very sure though.
maybe. I don't know. I'm just
Mhm,
making a maybe it's
mhm.
a racist remark. I'm sorry for that.
No,
But
Hocam, I don't know that
definitely
either.
he does not belong to that environment. It's obvious.
Yes, and he does everything not to feel, not to give that feeling, right? I am not one of you guys. I have sunglasses. You don't even have anything to wear on your. Okay, I'm not going to use words. We are being recorded, right? But yeah, I have glasses. I am all white. Like not only my skin, my clothes, and I'm in the center. I'm important. You guys are savages. But no, I mean, those people welcomed you with their hearts into their society. They're all peaceful. They want to understand why you are there, but you don't care about that. All you care about is get information from them, take the information, use the information against them, perhaps convert them into your religion, perhaps understand their language so that you can convert your religious script into their language to convert them. Actually, this is the earliest stages of the anthropological linguistics, right? That's how it came out. So people, not only the global south, but global north, researchers, they said, oh, there's a crisis here. Who is representing whom? This white guy is not representing those people. Because they have their own lifestyles, they have their own thoughts, beliefs, emotions. Whose voice is it going to be in that research study? Whose choices will be there? I mean, this guy will tell this parts where he finds fit, where he finds important, whose ways of doing research, whose interpretation, whose analysis. So social sciences in the 80s went into a crisis. And feminists who were against patriarchal norms, post-colonialists who were the critiques of global north, and postmodernists basically critiquing everything about discourse, they were shaking this image. This in social sciences, this change in social sciences was reflected on educational sciences too. In the past, Cochrane, Smith, and Lytle's paper, it's seminal. I learned a lot from that article. In that article, they classified teacher knowledge in 3 forms. Knowledge for practice. Basically, the producers of knowledge in the laboratory like Skinner, Pavlov, how dogs learn, and from there how people can learn. They produced information, canned it, and send it into the classroom. Teachers were just technicians or transmitters of knowledge, or what Freire calls banking model of education. This wasn't humane because this was killing creativity. This was killing the locality, situatedness, the fluidity, the complexities of learning environments. Then people said, researchers said, let's go into the classroom, see how Aydan Hocam does her job so well. I mean, she is like a legend here. So if we observe her practice, then we can know how teacher knowledge should be. Here, the problem was, Aydan Hocam is a great teacher, yes, but unlike her, very different, completely different personality, there are other very good teachers. How can we synthesize it? Then came in knowledge of practice, where teacher was also the researcher, action research, right? I mean, I'm doing it well, or I'm not doing it as well as I expected. So let me conduct some action research, study myself. That's what we call self-study, and then understand how good teacher knowledge should be. So in educational sciences, this means I am a teacher. I know better than everyone because I'm also an academic. So autoethnography, let's do it. In applied linguistics, there has been a long line of turns. 60s cognitive turn from behaviorism to cognitive, then sociocultural turn, then critical turn, social turn, affective turn, narrative turn. Narrative is key here, affective is key here, because now teachers and students, feelings are also important, not only their cognitive skills, sociocultural skills, not only the power dynamics in schools, hidden curriculum, but feelings. Mota and Lin's paper, Theorizing Desire in TESOL, is seminal. Then multilingual turn, translingual turn. Wow, to understand this, we need new methodologies. You can't just go into the classroom to understand how translingual practice how translingual practice goes on and on. There is outside of, and there is global mobility. People go and learn languages outside of the classroom as well. Not only EFL or ESL context. The internet blurred the EFL and ESL dichotomy. So all of these turn the light on the learner, the teacher, the user, the scholar, teacher, educator. Again, autoethnography. This is my case. This is how I make my case for autoethnography. So what type of autoethnography do we have? Actually, it's new. Like for the last 15 years, I have a paper, I'm going to tell you about it, methodological review of autoethnography is published between 2010 and 2020. And here I saw that there are many different types of autoethnography. It's like people want to keep the gates by naming autoethnography. Me, myself included. You see critical socialization here? That's where I am. That's my dissertation. Analytic, critical socialization, community, evocative. Evocative is about feelings, like your inner world, interpretive, arts-based, poetic. I even tried poetic autoethnography, and I'm really proud of that paper too. And there are multi-authored autoethnographies too, when two people or more than two people get together and do some, that is what Erdem Hocam, Elif Hocam, Mustafa Hocam, and I presented at INGET 2023, collaborative autoethnographies, duo-ethnographies, dialogical. You know, Yazan is my advisor, slash mentor, slash friend, critical friend. We created this. We have dialogues about autoethnography and we publish them. And they're kind of getting popular in the sense that people like to read such dialogues rather than conventional, traditional academic texts. Among these, analytic and evocative autoethnographies stand out because they're like two ends of the autoethnographic spectrum. Evocative, focusing on feelings, analytic, focusing on the traditional ways of doing ethnography, but including the researcher's own experiences within the research. So how do we talk about these? Let me give you this. The approach of evocative autoethnography is postmodern. Less emphasis on researcher objectivity and factual information, more emphasis on emotions and connections with the audience. Expressing your feelings, thoughts, beliefs, pain, sense of achievement, failures, and all. Please, guys, read the analytic part of it. I mean, the equivalent or the column to see the similarities or differences, actually. The writing of evocative autoethnography is literary. I studied English language and literature. That's why I prefer literary writing as well. And Aydan Hocam says, no, it's not academic because it's new. Literary because it's free writing, creative writing, artistic writing, informal writing, first-person voice. Also, not passive voice, but active voice. So how do we collect our data in autoethnography? Okay, so I'm going to write an autoethnography. You sold it to me. I think I'm okay with it. And it sounds, at least I can try, tryable, if that word exists. So how should I do it? Basically, collecting data, analyzing data, they're similar to other qualitative research methodologies. But for autoethnography, we have, like, before deciding to write an autoethnography, what kind of data do you have at hand? Those can be textual documents, like your writings, your social media posts, diaries, artifacts, even the souvenirs. Guys, you see the souvenirs behind me? This tells about me a lot. And I like you guys to see that I have gone through these. And I'm happy to show off here a little bit. That's the reason I don't know, John, why I'm not at home, but in my office, honestly. Okay, but still, I mean, souvenirs mean something. At least it shows where you have been to, and when you look at it, memories just conjure up in your mind. Use them, right? Your previous publications, your previous assignments for your master's doctoral studies. You can use them because they reflect the you in the past. That you can go back and try to understand. After deciding to write an autoethnography, you can use your memory work, remember things, reflective journals, you can write journals, diaries again, or if you're doing collaborative autoethnography, you can interview your partner who is not a participant only, but also the second researcher as you or third researcher as you, email correspondences, recorded conversations. Instead of calling interviews, I call it autoethnographic conversations. Actually, Erdem Hocam, Elif Hocam, Mustafa Hocam, and I did that. We conversed, we talked. That is also humanizing because you talk about your problems and we try, your partners try to find solutions, or at least they show sympathy or empathy for your feelings, thoughts, emotions. Yes. So data collection tools. How can you analyze those data? First of all, any type of qualitative data analysis procedure works. Narrative analysis is my favorite. And narrative and autoethnography go hand in hand. Actually, I teach a doctoral course here at Bahçeşehir University. Its name is Narrative Inquiry and Autoethnography because they work together. They're like cousins. Thematic analysis, you can do it. Like, what were the difficulties, challenges I lived through? Focus on the challenge team, right? Diachronic content analysis, critical discourse analysis, phenomenological analysis, grounded theory, combination of two or more. You can do a lot. So autoethnography does not limit you. Actually, it gives you a broad range of data analysis, collection and analysis tools and procedure. So this is something that I and Dr. Yazan, we have been working on. We call it retro-intro prospective reflection in autoethnographic, in order to avoid narcissistic expressions, understandings. We do our best to understand ourselves as convincingly as possible. We try to convince ourselves so that it's easy for us to convince our readers. If the readers are not convinced, that is our criterion, I would say, it won't work. So the retro, intro, and prospective reflection is like this. Let me show you this. You see the peace sign? You make peace with yourself. Retrospection is like you try to remember what happened in the past related to a phenomenon. Perhaps while you were learning a language, while you were a master's student trying to understand why you stopped or quit or fell out of doing it. So what happened? What did I think of and believe about that back then? And how did I feel about it, right? All of them. Then, why do I remember this now? What makes it memorable? Then, what do I think about it now? What do I feel about it now? Any difference? If there is a difference, there is transformation that I can focus on. And to understand the transformation I have been through from the past, from then to now, will eliminate my future thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. That is a little bit more systematic than, let's say, thinking about what happened to you. So write about all of these. This is like self-reflexivity, because you want to convince yourself so that you can convince your readers. If they are convinced, mission accomplished at the end of the day. So what is a good autoethnography? Actually, there are different types of autoethnography. There are many different orientations, foundations, beliefs about autoethnography. It's not a systematic methodology yet. And some people say it shouldn't be systematic at all because it is a reaction to systematic ways of doing research. So here I have this a set of guidelines. I call it a modest proposal. Actually, I published these in a paper in qualitative research, qualitative report. So this is what I offer. This is how I understand good autoethnography should be. First of all, a good autoethnography creates a sense of transformation. So how did you transform? Everybody transforms. But that transformation, if it is a good example for others to read, to understand their own transformation, then it's useful, right? So you should give a story of elimination, healing, understanding, and learning. Do you remember the autobiographical information about me? It didn't have it. It has to go beyond. Readers should be your companions. Aydan Hocam, that's why I use I language and you language rather than taking God's eye view and being the third person intruder, the all-knower academic. No, I mean, I am someone who tries to understand themselves. If this is a published study, it doesn't mean that I know. I'm still seeking. I am still in the process of transformation. And my readers are my companions. It should give autobiographical and background information. Without it, it's not easy to understand. I mean, if I don't know where Aydan Hocam, for example, started learning English, her story will not make sense to me a lot. But for me, let's say, my story of learning English started in Zonguldak at a public high school, super lise, they call it. And I was coming from working class. Not many of my friends came from working class too. They were like petty bourgeois families. But still, I mean, if I can give this information, if I don't give this information, my story will be difficult to understand. So autobiographical information, we need it as soon as possible as well. So I should explain the reasons why I am using autoethnography. It's not like, guys, here is my autoethnography. But why did you write an autoethnography but not, let's say, case study? Because I wrote about myself. No, that's not enough. Also, you should explain why you used those tools and sources to explain your story. You should be able to explain. I used diaries because I had them. I wrote them in high school and I revisited them and it was rich in, let's say, information. And I wrote them before I decided to write an autoethnography. So they are trustworthy, whatever you say. And a good autoethnography, a good critical autoethnography, especially denaturalizes social issues. It's not only my story, it is community's story. Because, I mean, my story informs the community's ways of being, doing, knowing. And it embraces subjectivity of the memory and interpretation. So when I remember, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, I'm aware, I'm not stupid, that, I mean, if somebody commits a crime, all the witnesses will tell a different version of their story. So there is no, and as a post-structuralist person, I can't say there is reality out there. Actually, people's discourses are what we have, nothing else. In that case, I'm not going to go for an objective, an outside reality, but I'm going to go for why I remember something in the way I remember it. That is the reason, that is the focus that I'm going for. Maybe there were students in my cohort who were even poorer. I didn't know about their existence. Yes, possible, but this is not how I frame it. The way I frame it, you have to trust me if you think that my story is convincing. And you have to, as the reader, not have to, but yes, have to. You have to keep on being with me in my story, experience it, witness it, right? So yeah, okay. So far, I try to sell autoethnography, but still, if you are one of these people, if you believe that you have a, let's say, post-positivist mindset, don't go for autoethnography. That's not for you. Just don't. Go for case study. Go for, let's say, narrative. Go for discourse analysis. If you think that subjectivity should be avoided, again, part of post-positivist mindset, don't go for autoethnography. Don't even read autoethnographies. If you approach academia as a profession, not as a lifestyle, still, you may not go for it. Aydın Hocam, you may remember, I was telling you, Hocam, you should have so many stories to tell. I mean, your context, like Ankara's, I mean, you are the insider a researcher would look for, right? I mean, but still, Hocam, if you feel like, oh, it's my profession only, I'm not going to be revealing my personal life to anybody, then don't go for it. And if you see that making your vulnerabilities public is too risky, and it is risky sometimes, let me give you an example, okay? This is on record, I know, so I'll be a little bit cautious. So when I was having my PhD in the States, the stipend I had wasn't enough. So I had to do some work that I needed to earn because I needed to earn extra money to basically to pay for my son's preschool, to pay for the food on our table. It wasn't all roses and daisies in my time there. But I didn't include those things in my dissertation because it was too risky. I kept them to myself. So autoethnography doesn't mean that you have to reveal everything. No. But you have to be honest. I mean, I say I didn't reveal everything, then I'm honest with not being too open. I try to be as open as possible, but there is a limit to it. I don't want to harm anybody, but I don't want to harm myself either. So if you are this type of a person, contact me and let's see how you can frame your autoethnography. If you feel like your story matters, and it's a good example of a language learner, student, teacher, teacher-educator, expert, mentor, mentee, emerging scholar, established scholar, seasoned scholar, doctoral student, academician. If your story matters, if it's going to shed light on other people's paths, just go for it. I mean, it's a moral responsibility as well, I mean, on my side. I don't know, this was a message for you as well. If your emotions matter, if you believe that your emotions matter, I mean, emotions do matter. Like my desire to learn English. I can't explain motivation through cognition only. Motivation is part of emotions, or mostly emotions. You can't isolate your emotions from your thoughts and beliefs. If you feel like you're revealing your vulnerabilities make you stronger, go for autoethnography. That's what I did. Now that people know about my scripts, now that I'm an open book, literally, not that open, by the way. There are some volumes haven't been published yet. I feel strong because, I mean, yeah, I mean, people can't blame me for being something that everybody else knows, right? And if your story should be told by you in your own voice and in your own style, go for autoethnography. Because if you don't tell your story, someone else will. Any comments for right now? Anybody who wants to share something? Because I've been monologuing all the way through.
Well, I have been sending you messages and then using signals to ask you to wrap it up, but you
Oh, okay.
purposefully neglect me.
Okay, I'm sorry, hocam. I
Sevgili
didn't
hocam. That's
accidental.
okay. That's
Okay,
okay.
hocam,
One
I'm
thing
finishing up.
here, one thing here that I really want to ask, I'm dying to ask this. You keep saying writing or recording your own story, but when you write or record your own story, you're gonna reveal some other people's
Yes,
names.
that is the ethical aspect of it, hocam.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
Uh,
I will keep this question maybe for a
yes.
later discussion.
That's a red flag for everyone else in this thing. I mean, autoethnographers, and there are hot debates around it. I'm gonna try to answer it though. So, if you believe that sometimes hugs mean more than words in academia, contact me. I'm gonna send you virtual hugs. I'm not a touchy person, unlike what Aydan Hocam thinks. But I'll send you virtual hugs because academia needs it, and we don't give hugs to each other. We are human. We forget about it. We think that we know everything. We don't. So we have to change our language. I'm wrapping it up, hocam. Instead of the word validity, use rigor. I'm not using quantitative research or let's say post-positivist terminology. I use rigor, important trustworthiness, verisimilitude rather than reliability. I don't neglect outliers. I focus on them because I find myself an outlier, weird, and all. And instead of a researcher, I would like to use scholar, inquirer. Instead of cause and effect or correlation, I go for convincibility. Making sense. Making sense is very important. And also understanding the human condition. This is the language that I use when I explain, when I advocate for autoethnography. If you say, what about the reliability? I say, your quantitative studies, you call them reliable, but how do I know? If I interview Aydan Hoca and write about her story, is it more reliable than or valid than she writing her own story? Given that post-structuralists say discourse is everything, two levels of discourse will distort, right? The reality. So anyways, here are the, let's say, studies. The yellow highlighted ones are open access. Like you can go into autoethnography by reading these two. The three, the turquoise or green, I'm not very sure. Ones are examples of my autoethnography. If you can't have access, shoot me an email. I can send them to you, or ResearchGate, you can find me. The others are usually more, let's say, theoretical discussions, but still, they're, I mean, go for the yellow, then the green, and then these ones. And I don't know, I'll tell you this. I mean, seeing this many studies, people think that I do ethnography only. I don't. I do other research too, but these are some of them. Actually, most of them are from my dissertation. So I'm not as productive as it seems on the list. So here are the books that I suggest you guys reading. You see, Buckner and Ellis's book. While I was having my PhD, this book was like, wow, a novel, the greatest book I read. It's academic, but also people are hugging each other. You see, and then Chang's autoethnography as method, and also Chang et al.'s collaborative autoethnography works well. Boylan and Orb's critical autoethnography, actually they are professors at Alabama University. I didn't know them in person, but still their work is valuable. And the second version is here, edition is here. There is also Handbook of Autoethnography. This one is right after you read these ones. Although it's a handbook, it is more thorough. So thank you for listening. To be a whole is to be a part. True voyage is return. I have been on many voyages and I have returned so far safe and sound. And I hope the same will happen to you as well. If you want this presentation, message me. You have my email. But other than that, I'm not going to be sharing it right now for some reasons. Okay, Aydın Hocam.
What a fascinating session this turned out to be. Ufuk Hocam, I thank you. I'm so grateful. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hamza, I believe, if I'm not mispronouncing your name, has a question, I believe. And
Yes,
do you want to go ahead and ask your own
Mhm.
question, please?
yes. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Hello, Keleş hocam. I miss you a lot.
Hello,
Um,
Kansa. Kansa was my
uh,
student in my qualitative research, right, Kansa? You are not another Kansa.
yes, yes, I am. I
Yeah.
am. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. There is no Khansa, only Khansa Ambashi Shahir University. Only one.
Unique.
Okay. Okay, Hujam, I want to ask you something. Uh, uh, Maybe it's so personal, but it's related to the ethnography
Mhm.
processes. Didn't you have the fear that people would get advantage of you while you are open up in your personal life, although you've hidden some of the details, okay? Or and the other side to envy you in specific parts. I don't know if it's suitable for this presentation, but
Yeah, Kansa,
uh,
in my syllabus, I write at the end, honesty is the best policy in my courses. And I believe that it should be my policy in life too. I'm honest with people. I'm not trying to show, actually, I sometimes do show off. I mean, I feel like, oh, I need to show off this. I mean, just as everybody else. What I'm doing here is admit. So yes, it leaves me vulnerable, but I have come so far by being me. So I trust myself. I can dodge any bullets coming from colleagues, coming from friends, foes, students, others. I don't
uh-huh.
really.
I ask you this question, Professor, because when we wrote the ethnography about our learning journey before the graduate, sorry, before the undergraduate uh, era and after. Okay, I was hesitant to mention specific details because of this reason, because of this question.
It's
That's
all
why I
up to you.
wanted.
It's all up to
Yeah,
you. I mean, whatever you want to share, it is what people will be reading.
yeah, for the good, of course, to change as you
Mhm.
told us. Thank you so much, Hojam. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
For those who ask whether you're going to get the recording will be published next week on our Inget Turkey YouTube channel among all the other Zoom meetings or Zoom sessions we have. So please visit Inget Turkey YouTube channel. It's all free. You can watch the recording. Hocam, if you're done with your presentation, can you
I am
please
hocam.
stop sharing so that we can see each other? Niroj Hocam has a question. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. So I'm from Nepal. It's midnight here. So
So
thank
glad
you
to
so much.
have you with us.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the session, and there are lots of like the wrestling ideas in between what to ask, where to ask, when to ask. But I have one question as like there are different dimension of the autoethnography, as you have also stated. Uh, some and recent development is on dialogical trend of the autoethnography. So in this line, as you are already experienced in this field, what about the social or social the word, let me use other word like there are the different person. One talks about much aligned to the individual interrogation, and other is aligned with the social dimension. So what you suggest us for the novice researcher or those who are already veteran researcher in the autoethnographic to subscribe the social dimension of autoethnography? That means not limiting with the working with the one people or working with the community with some intervention to them, as the now the research trend is moving forward with the communities trend. So what you thought on that line for working with the so the ideas align with the Chang, but not exactly that. So social
Yes.
notion of the autoethnography. What
Niraj,
for?
actually, we just met on social media, but I know you have your own autoethnography. So calling yourself novice is being humble. Uh, I'll.
But I'm in learning phase, you know.
uh, uh, anyways, I mean, your question here is, first of all, my autoethnographic stories are not about the questionable experiences.
Mhm.
Some experiences are traumatic, like abuse, right? Like some, let's say, phobia, some, let's say, the violence that you experience. My autoethnographies were kind of safe, like learning a language. What can be the worst person in those stories? Perhaps colleagues who envy, who try to make your job difficult, or maybe teachers who can't teach, uh, professors who discriminate against students. Yes, in my stories, I have some of them, but there are levels of anonymity that it's my story doesn't mean that I'll reveal everybody else's script, identities. What I do is keep their identity as anonymous as possible. Yes, I don't say I went to a state university in Turkey. I say I went to Boğaziçi University. It limits the options, but there are like at least 40 teachers, 40 professors there, okay? And but again, if you're going to touch on risky situations, then it's a whole different situation. That I would say, for example, if let's say if I was abused by a teacher and or sexually harassed, that would be let's say um, uh, the, I mean, I should take them to court, or I should tell them to the police, right? Instead of writing about it. So here is the thing. I mean, I haven't had to think about these much because my stories are safer compared to many other stories. But still, I mean, there are ways of being anonymous, using them, I mean, trying to be cautious. Also, as the autoethnographer, we should be aware. In my story, I am the protagonist, and my story has antagonists, yes. But that antagonist's story isn't told as that person is an antagonist. That is a protagonist in their own story, right? I should be aware. I should be aware of my role in my story, others' roles in their stories, in my stories. I should respect, even if I don't like it. So I wouldn't, I had some situations like, I mean, unwanted situations where I found it difficult to socialize with my cohort at Alabama University because I was international. Instead of having a victim mindset or accusing people for not taking me in, I focused on the reasons why I couldn't. It's my story. It means something. I mean, I have to deal with myself. Does it make sense? I mean, I focus on myself more than others, but
very true.
Yeah. I mean, I should be mindful.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
here, I'm going to come up with a counter question.
Yes, Ujam.
If you try to be anonymous, and if you try to, for example, use nicknames, doesn't it kind of put the blame on a lot of people? Because, you know, in a murder story, they say if you don't reveal the killer, everyone else will suffer from that guilt because people will look at you, maybe he was the one, you know, that kind of thing. So I find myself in a dilemma here. If you reveal someone's identity, then of course it becomes a defamation, maybe. You know, it can, people can take you to a court, you know, for that. If I don't, if I just use maybe a vague description, I was bullied by my administrator. Now, ooh, I had several administrators. Now, everyone may say, hey, who is this person? Are you talking about me?
Yeah,
Who are you
yeah,
referring to? So
this
that puts
happens.
that puts me in a very, very difficult situation. So what is a safe way?
Not to write that autoethnography, Hocam.
I see.
There are other ways of doing research, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I wouldn't, in that case, if I can't guarantee the anonymity of the people in my story,
That makes sense.
I'm not going to write about it. And
Yeah.
there are other experiences that I have that I can say the same things through different experiences, right? That is self-filtering. That is self-censorship, right? And that's what I do. I mean, give no harm because you don't want to be harmed by others.
Of course.
So yeah, I mean, if one of the professors will be offended by what I say, and it's going to be like, yes, it's going to be difficult, put everyone in difficult condition, right? Then I don't write about it that way.
Okay.
But
avoid that experience, maybe.
yeah.
Focus on a safer one.
Or I say this happened not because of that professor, but the relationship that I couldn't build with that professor. Maybe it was the social norms, social power dynamics that is being critical. Instead of putting the blame on others or self-victimizing myself, I prefer to see the criticality in the society, in the community that I experienced those unwanted, undesired feelings, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if it's going to give harm to somebody,
Avoid that.
I just don't. I just avoid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I am doing it not to be dishonest with people. I am doing it because, I mean, my story is worth being told,
Yeah.
but not in the expense of other stories. My story is worth theirs too.
Well, I think every one of us in this crowd, well, in our society, have been a victim of mobbing somehow, right? So we keep it to ourselves because this is not something that you can take to a court, although people say that you can. It's not, because then you know that you cannot stay there. You need to leave the institution. So, yeah, let's keep those stories to ourselves and maybe share something that is safer. Peki hocam, I have another question. Now, let's assume that I'm going to start doing this. What is the first step that I need to do? Should I go like freestyle, a free writing style, start writing down whatever comes to my mind, and then go through my journal, narrow it down, focus my attention on a specific experience? Is it how you do it, or do you start with one specific question in your mind? How do you do it? What is the
As I said,
first baby steps?
As I said, autoethnographic spectrum is too broad. There are many different types of autoethnography, and people's epistemological orientations will be different. So your identity defines it. And Meryem is here. She was my student in my narrative inquiry and autoethnography class. I'm gonna ask them to help me over here, because any question similar to that of yours, I say, any choice you make, it should make sense to you, but it should also, you should also be able to articulate that it made sense to you, to your readers. That is the criterion that I go for. But I mean, it's not easy to excavate people's identities. It's like self-discovery more than that. And Meryem, here she had the okay, she can talk. I mean, Meryem, can you please maybe briefly?
Yes, hocam. Of course. Should I talk about my story, or which part do you want me to talk about?
Aydan hocam's question. She says, where should I start? And when you asked me this question, you always ask me, all of you. And
yeah,
I see
exactly.
Esra too here.
Yes.
So what did I tell you? Or I don't know.
So as Ufuk hocam mentioned, he always told us from wherever we start, wherever we felt we would be comfortable with sharing. And there was one thing that I remember from his classes of autoethnography. Do not try to find a victim, and do not try to put yourself in the position of the victim, and do not go in a way that, you know, there is a story to follow and there is always a good end. And, you know, everything goes in that way. It actually finds its way. This is what he was telling us. And another very important thing that he was mentioning was to find the theoretical framework. You also mentioned it, Ufuk hocam, because when you have the theoretical framework, actually it is the center of your autoethnography. You know, it is where it makes sense to write down that autoethnography. Yes, how you build up your story.
By the way, you don't always need a theoretical framework. It is easier to do with.
It is easier, but you were really suggesting us to do that. Yeah. It was making it really easier because, you know, Aydan hocam, it sounds really fun and games when you hear about autoethnography. Everybody wants to read and write about it. And Ufuk hocam remembers the very first week that I found him. I was like screaming, hocam, yeah, I should write down an autoethnography. But he was telling us, calm down and try to understand what an autoethnography is. And, you know, now we finished the semester together. Yeah, make sure it is for you. Now I see why he was telling that, you know, because it is not as easy as it seems. It is fun, but there are really, you know, subtle things that you need to pay attention to. And
Thank
we
you,
are really glad
Meryem.
that we learned it from Ufuk Hocam.
Thank you, Meryem, for supporting me, for being here too. Esra, I see you here too. Erdem Hocam.
By the way,
Hello.
Hocam, if you can check the chat box,
I
there
am.
are so many compliments. Well, actually, they're not compliments. They're thanking you for the insights that they have gained thanks to your presentation. If you want, I can send you the chat box.
Hocam, I see it now, right now. I'm a little bit anxious and also excited too. I see Sezgin here. I want to say hi to everyone because, I mean, when you write about your stories, everybody, you know, is part of your story. And I am in Sezgin's dissertation TIC committee. So he's here. And I told him maybe you should write about your dissertation story. Maybe that is the reason why he's here, but perhaps he has other reasons too. But still, I mean, right now, I mean, everybody is part of my story. Since Ingat, you are my part of my story as well, Hocam. From time to time, we message each other.
Unfortunately, we have lost 10 people, I guess, because they got tired or they had to do something. By the way, Hocam, I can see you raising your hand. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Hocam. Thank you very much. As you know, Aydan Hocam, I have been moderating a speaking club for the last 3 years, and which can be said that it's the unexpected positive effect of the pandemic, maybe. I have organized 65 meetings so far, and we have examined different countries and cultures at each online meeting. I'm thinking of presenting all this experience as a paper, and I'm thinking of a title like Contributions of Speaking Club Moderation to an EFL Student Teacher, or something like that. After all, this is a process that I have experienced. So at this point, can I write an autoethnographic article using I language in this context?
Why not, Hocam? I mean, just go for it. Autoethnography is not limited to topics, is not limited to data collection tools, analysis methods. Autoethnography is like a philosophy of life. I mean, if you believe that those experiences, organizing all those speaking clubs with people from all around the world, if you feel like this story should be told. Actually, we have two types of stories that we say this should be told. One of them, Stephen Hawking's story. Unique. Not everybody has it. I mean, not everybody can have it. Would like to have it, but still want to read because it's inspirational. Other stories are mundane stories. Those mundane stories are like, when Meryem reads my story, she feels like, oh, I had something similar to this. Oh, I lived through exactly the same ÖSYM, ÖSS, ÖYS exam, and its effects on me are very similar. After I read Ufuk Hocam's paper on that, now I see mine more thoroughly, or let's say I can look at mine more deep. Ali Hocam, does it make sense? Every story is worth telling, and I say every story has a place to be told. And every autoethnography, I'm gonna say, regardless of its quality or whatever, has a place to be published. And these days, autoethnographic studies are like mushrooms popping up everywhere. Because people like to see individual stories. Ali Hocam, go for it, but I strongly advise you to read a little bit about it. It's
Yes,
not
sir,
like
sure.
this is my story, so I'm gonna tell in my own way, in my own voice, in my own style. Finding your own voice is a challenge. Finding your own style is a challenge. Finding your own story is a challenge. You have a story there. Go for the others too. I'm lucky I found my voice, my stories, my style, but I went back to my history. As I said, I studied language and literature, so I used freestyle writing. I used informal language. They said, use American English only, or they said British English only. I said, no, this is part of my translanguaging habits. I'm going to use, some of you may have realized I say either rather than either. That is British, right? But most of the time I prefer American. That is part of me, my identity. I am aware, fully aware, or hyper alert of my stories, my styles. I use the Ursula Le Guin's literature, science fiction thoughts, because she illuminated my path. She has done it since I was a high school student. I read the Dispossessed when I was I was an 11th grader or 12th, I don't remember. Since then, I have accumulated thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and I'm happy that I found autoethnography. Part of the thing, it was also affected by pandemics, because in the States, as an international student, going into local schools, contexts, and collecting data is very difficult, was very difficult. For me, it was a way out to finish my PhD. Go for it,
Thank you
Hocam.
so much, Hocam. Thank you so much. I will rewatch this session, and then I will just study on it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Hocam.
And I believe people can learn from your experience, Ali Hocam, because if they are planning, for example, to start speaking clubs, maybe online speaking clubs, they can use your experiences.
Yes, Hocam. I'm just
That's
thinking.
a wonderful idea.
Yeah, it will be an example maybe for next student teachers, and I did enjoyed it, and I improved my English a lot through these meetings.
Ali
Sure,
Hocam,
sure.
don't use their arsenal. This is a military term, but use the language I offer, because if you use their language, they're going to criticize you in their language. Don't let them do that, okay? There is a reason why you go for autoethnography, because you want change. You talk about transformation, and that transformation is not only you being better in your spoken English. It is you as a person who also developed, right?
Yeah.
That is what the most important thing at the end of the day, I would say.
This presentation addressed me totally, Hocam. Thank you so much.
Ufuk Hocam, thank you. Thanks a million, in fact. You know what? Please promise us to come back, have another session. Why not? Well, of course, I will give you enough time to rest. And
Let's do it
maybe in a
tomorrow.
month's
I'm
time.
ready.
I know. It's so much fun to listen to you. And your presentation was really very informative. I have taken a lot of notes, and I'm ready to reveal all the names in ELT.
Hocam, you will be breaking the grounds. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I will definitely send you the messages in the chat box, because there are wonderful paragraphs thanking you, appreciating your contribution, and I don't want you to miss them. So I will send them to you, okay? And
Thank you, Hocam.
again, thanks a million. And as usual, I thank our participants. Your being here, your contributions, it's invaluable. I don't know how to thank you guys. I hope to see you in another INGED online event. Take very good care of yourselves. Be safe. And stay with us. Hocam.
Hocam, here is the thing for my final thing. I hug everyone for being here. because we need it. Academia is full of knowledge, but also feelings are there too. I hug everyone, although people who know me know that I'm not a touchy person, but sometimes hugs mean more than words.
And this is a
Thank
virtual
you.
hug.
Yes,
So
hocam.
yeah, we welcome the hug.
Thank you
I
so much,
send my
hocam.
hugs to you. Thank
For
you.
me. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye.